Have you ever wondered why some men simply leave a permanent mark on a woman's heart, while others are forgotten as if they never even existed? Think about it. Have you ever had someone from your past who you just couldn't get out of your mind, no matter how much time passed? If you're curious about what makes a man unforgettable, you're in the right place. Today, I'm going to share with you Marcus Aurelius-inspired lessons that explain why women never forget a man who does these specific things. These insights are deeply rooted in female psychology and Stoic philosophy, and if you understand them, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and make sure you watch this video until the very end, because just one of these lessons could change the way women see you forever, and even transform your love life. 1. He gives without keeping score. Have you ever done something nice for someone you loved, only to secretly wait for their reaction? Maybe you bought her a gift, sent her a long message, or did her a favor, and deep down, you were hoping she'd return that love right away. Be honest, haven't we all done that at some point? But here's the truth. Women never forget the man who gives without keeping score, and that's where Marcus Aurelius comes in with his timeless wisdom. The reward of a good deed is to have done it. Let me tell you a little story. Imagine a man who always gave with conditions. He'd take his girlfriend out to dinner and then sulk if she didn't praise him enough. He'd do small favors, but only if he thought he'd get something in return. Now, in the short run, she might play along. But in the long run, she remembers the weight of those hidden strings. It doesn't feel like love, it feels like a transaction. Now picture another man. He helps her not because he has to, not because he's calculating what he'll gain, but because that's who he is. He notices when she's tired and brings her coffee without making a big deal out of it. He listens to her talk about her bad day, not because he's angling for affection afterward, but because he truly cares. That man doesn't just give her things, he gives her the gift of feeling safe, valued and cherished. Let me ask you, think about your own love story. Was there ever a time when you gave your partner something straight from the heart, without expecting anything back? Maybe it was just a smile when she was upset, or maybe it was the patience to let her vent after a long day. Do you remember how powerful that felt? That right there is what women never forget. Because here's the secret. Real giving leaves a lasting imprint. It doesn't shout, "Look what I did for you." It whispers, "I see you. I care for you. I'm here, and trust me." That whisper stays with her long after the moment has passed. So if you want to be unforgettable, give freely. Don't keep score. Because in love, the men who are remembered forever are the ones who made giving a part of who they are. 2. He stays calm when she tests him. Have you ever been in that moment where she says something sharp, maybe even unfair, just to see how you'll react? Be honest, did you lose your cool? Did you raise your voice, or maybe go silent and walk away angry? Almost every man has been there. But here's the difference. A woman never forgets the man who stays calm when she tests him. Why? Because deep down, female psychology is wired to search for stability. A woman doesn't always test you because she wants to hurt you. Often, she does it because she wants to feel if your strength is real. She's asking silently, "Can I trust this man when life gets messy? Will he crumble or will he hold steady?" Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's exactly what these moments are about. You can't control her mood, her words, or her emotions, but you can control your response. Imagine this story. 2 men are dating the same woman at different times. With the first man, she complains about something small. Maybe he forgot to reply to a message quickly. He snaps back defensively, "Why are you always nagging me?" Suddenly, the room is filled with tension. She doesn't feel safe. She feels like she's with another boy pretending to be a man. Now, with the second man, the same situation happens. She teases him about being late, maybe even exaggerates a little to push his buttons. But instead of snapping, he smiles calmly and says, "You're right. I could have managed my time better. Let's not let this ruin our night." The air shifts. She relaxes. And in her mind, she quietly thinks, "This man is different. I can't shake him." Let me ask you, when was the last time you stayed calm when someone tried to provoke you? Did you notice how powerful it felt? Not to give away your peace? That's the power women remember. Because here's the truth. Any man can be loving when things are easy. But the man she never forgets is the one who remains unshaken when storms come. His calmness becomes her anchor. His presence becomes her safety. And once she's felt that, no other man quite measures up. 3. He makes her feel seen, not just desired. When was the last time you truly looked at a woman beyond her beauty? Not just her smile, not just her curves, but her mind, her effort, her struggles, her dreams. Think about it, because this is one of the greatest secrets of female psychology. A woman never forgets the man who made her feel seen, not just desired. Here's the problem. Most men focus only on the surface. They'll say, "You're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're hot." And while that might flatter her for a moment, do you know what she's really thinking? Every man tells me this. But does anyone actually see who I am beneath it all? Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone can show me I'm mistaken, I'll gladly change, for I seek the truth." Do you see how powerful that is? It's not just about being humble, it's about listening. And that's what makes a woman feel seen. When you stop trying to impress her, and instead show curiosity about her truth, her story, her mind, suddenly, you stand out from every other man she's met. Let me share a little story. A woman once dated a man who constantly praised her looks. He showered her with compliments, but it always felt shallow, like he was more in love with the image of her than the person she truly was. Eventually, she grew tired because she felt invisible behind the mask of beauty. Then came another man. He noticed the little things, how hard she worked on her projects, how she always encouraged others, how she laughed differently when she was nervous. Instead of only telling her she was beautiful, he said, "I admire how you keep going even when you're exhausted. That says a lot about your strength." For the first time, she felt understood, and even after he was gone, she could never forget him because he saw the soul behind the smile. Now think about your own love story. Do you remember the first time someone truly understood you? Not just your appearance, but your inner self? Didn't that connection feel deeper than any physical compliment? That's exactly what women feel when you make them seen. So if you want to live in her memory forever, don't just admire her beauty, see her humanity. Because beauty fades, but the memory of being understood never does. 4. He lives by principles, not pleasures. When you look back at your own life, do you admire the times when you chased quick pleasures? Or the times when you stood firm on your values, even when it was hard? Think carefully, because women never forget the man who chooses principles over pleasures. See, female psychology is clear on this point. A woman may enjoy a man's charm, wealth, or looks in the short term, but what stays with her forever is his character, because character tells her everything: how he will treat her when temptation knocks, how he will act when life gets tough, and whether she can truly trust him. Marcus Aurelius said it best: "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That means your principles are not about speeches, not about showing off values to others. They're about how you live when no one is watching. Let me share a story. A man once dated a woman he really cared about, but every time he was out with friends, he'd flirt with others, give in to little temptations, and excuse it by saying it's harmless, just fun. To him, it was small. To her, it revealed something deeper. This man didn't live by principles. His loyalty could be bought with the smallest pleasure. Now contrast that with another man. He was faced with the same situations, the same opportunities to betray trust, the same temptations, but he lived by a code. He said, "If I give my word, I stand by it. If I choose loyalty, I live it fully." He didn't need to brag about being faithful. His actions spoke. And years later, even if the relationship ended, that woman could never forget him because he proved that not every man bows to pleasure. So let me ask you, when was the last time you chose principle over pleasure? Maybe it was walking away from an argument instead of proving your ego. Maybe it was staying loyal when temptation was easy. Didn't that make you feel stronger, more grounded, more you? That's exactly why women remember such men. Because they see someone rare. A man who isn't swayed by every passing desire. A man whose soul is anchored in values, not moods. And that, my friend, is unforgettable. Fear. He creates emotional safety. Have you ever been with someone who made you feel like you couldn't fully express yourself? Maybe you wanted to share your fears, your dreams, or even just your bad day. But something in their reaction made you hold back. Now imagine the opposite. Being with someone who made you feel so safe, so accepted, that you could share anything without fear. Which one sticks in your memory longer? Exactly. That's why women never forget the man who creates emotional safety. In female psychology, this is one of the deepest needs. Sure, she might be attracted to looks, wealth, or charisma, but what truly anchors her to a man's memory is the feeling of safety. Not just physical safety, but the safety of knowing I can be myself with him. He won't mock me. He won't dismiss me. He won't use my vulnerability against me. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Do you see the power in that? When you see love as a privilege, not a burden, you naturally create a safe space for others. Let me tell you a story. A woman once shared her dreams with a man she was dating. Big, ambitious goals that made her heart race. Instead of supporting her, he laughed and said, "That's unrealistic. Stop dreaming." She never forgot that moment, not because it was painful, but because it revealed she wasn't safe with him. Then came another man. She shared the same dreams, and instead of mocking, he leaned in and said, "I believe in you. Tell me more." He didn't promise to solve everything for her. He just listened, encouraged, and respected her voice. That single moment stayed in her memory, because it wasn't about agreement, it was about safety. Now think about your own love story. Was there ever a moment when someone trusted you with their raw, unfiltered truth? Did you notice how much closer it made you feel? That's the kind of closeness women crave. So remember this: beauty fades, gifts are forgotten, but the man who creates emotional safety, he lives forever in her heart. Because once a woman feels truly safe with you, she will never forget the comfort of that space. 6. He chooses purpose over ego. How many arguments in relationships are truly about love? And how many are just about the ego? Think about it. How many times have you seen couples fight? Not because something major was wrong, but simply because neither wanted to back down. Now here's the truth. A woman never forgets the man who chooses purpose over ego. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Do you know what that means in relationships? It means life is too short to waste on meaningless battles of pride. A man who lives for something bigger, then his ego doesn't need to win every argument, doesn't need to prove himself right every time. His eyes are on his purpose, not on petty fights. Let me share a story. A man once got into constant arguments with his girlfriend over small things. What movie to watch? Who was right about directions? Who forgot to do what? To him, winning the argument was everything. But slowly she began to feel drained. Why? Because she realized his ego was bigger than their bond. Now imagine another man in the same situation. She snapped at him one day about being late. Instead of snapping back, instead of letting his pride take over, he calmly said, "You're right. I should have managed my time better. Let's focus on enjoying our evening now." He didn't lose by letting go of his ego, he won her respect. Because he showed her that his peace, his mission, and their love mattered more than being right. Let me ask you, when was the last time you chose purpose over ego? Maybe you decided not to argue about something small. Maybe you let go of proving your point because you valued the relationship more. Didn't that make you feel stronger, not weaker? That's what women remember. Not the man who constantly argued to prove he was in control, but the man who lived with direction, who showed that his purpose in life was far greater than a temporary victory. And trust me, when a woman meets a man who lives above his ego, she never forgets him. Because that man inspires her, and she knows deep down, men like him are rare. 7. He forgives without losing boundaries. Have you ever been hurt by someone you loved, but instead of walking away, you chose to forgive them? How did that feel? Powerful? Or maybe complicated? Here's the truth. A woman never forgets the man who can forgive her mistakes with grace, yet never lose his self-respect. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Think about that for a moment. He's teaching us that true strength is not in holding grudges, but in rising above them. Forgiveness shows strength. But here's where most men get it wrong. They confuse forgiveness with weakness. They think forgiving means allowing someone to cross the same line again and again. But real forgiveness doesn't erase boundaries, it reinforces them. Let me share a story. A woman once dated a man who forgave her over and over for disrespectful behavior. She'd break promises, she'd flirt with others, and every time she apologized, he'd let it slide because he was afraid to lose her. Do you think she respected him more for that? No, she lost respect because his forgiveness had no backbone. Now picture another man. His girlfriend made a mistake. Maybe she lied about something small. Instead of exploding in anger, he calmly told her, "I forgive you. But understand this, trust is fragile. If it breaks again, I cannot stay." Do you see the difference? He forgave with strength, not weakness. He let go of resentment, but he made it clear. His boundaries are not negotiable. That balance of compassion and strength left an unforgettable mark on her heart. Let me ask you, have you ever experienced forgiving someone, but making sure it never happened again? Didn't that feel like true self-control? That's exactly what women remember. They don't remember the man who held grudges, nor the man who was a pushover. They remember the man who was strong enough to forgive, yet strong enough to stand tall. Because forgiveness without boundaries is weakness, but forgiveness with boundaries, that's power. And power, mixed with compassion, is something no woman ever forgets. 8. He controls his desires. What's more powerful? A man who can conquer the world, or a man who can conquer himself? Think carefully, because in love and attraction, women never forget the man who controls his desires. See, most men are ruled by impulses. If they see beauty, they chase it. If they feel desire, they can't hide it. If they crave attention, they beg for it. But female psychology tells us something very interesting. Women admire men who want them but don't need them. The difference is subtle but unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is exactly what women sense. When a man can desire her yet still remain composed, he radiates strength. He shows her that his emotions don't control him. He controls them. Let me tell you a story. A woman once dated a man who was desperate for her attention. Every time she pulled away slightly, he flooded her phone with texts. Every time she said no to intimacy, he pouted and begged. At first, she felt wanted, but soon she began to feel smothered. His lack of self-control drained the attraction. Then she met another man. He desired her, but he wasn't consumed by it. When she needed space, he gave it without sulking, without pressure. When intimacy happened, it felt natural, not forced. And when he looked at her, there was fire in his eyes, but also discipline. He wanted her, but he didn't chase like a starving man. And that restraint made her want him even more. Years later, she admitted she never forgot him, because his self-control made him magnetic. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed how much respect people give to the man who doesn't run after every temptation? Isn't he seen as more powerful, more in control? That's exactly how women see it too. So remember this, uncontrolled desire feels weak. Controlled desire feels powerful. Women forget the man who begged, pleaded, or chased, but they never forget the man who showed discipline, who proved that his world doesn't revolve around lust, but around purpose and choice. And that man, he becomes unforgettable. 9. He treats everyone with respect, not just her. Have you ever been on a date where a man treated you like royalty, but the waiter like trash? At first you might feel special, but deep down, doesn't it plant a seed of doubt? Because one day that same disrespect might be turned toward you. This is where women's psychology is fascinating. A woman might be flattered when a man gives her flowers, compliments, and attention. But what truly stays in her heart is how he treats the people around him. His respect, or lack of it, tells her more than his words ever can. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, don't sink to the level of disrespect, no matter who you're dealing with. A high-value man carries himself with grace, whether he's talking to a queen or to a servant. Let me share a story. There was a woman who dated two very different men. The first was charming, at least when he was with her. He opened doors, paid the bill, and showered her with affection. But when the waitress forgot his drink, he snapped. When a taxi driver made a wrong turn, he cursed him. She realized his kindness wasn't genuine. It was selective, conditional. Then she met another man. He wasn't as flashy, but she noticed something. He said thank you to the bus driver. He smiled at the cashier. He even treated stray animals with kindness. With her, he wasn't just sweet, he was consistent. And that consistency built trust, because she knew this wasn't an act. This was who he truly was. Ask yourself this, what's more powerful? A man who respects only when it benefits him, or a man who respects because it's his nature? Which one would you trust your heart with? Which one would a woman remember forever? Respect is contagious. It makes people feel safe around you, admired, valued. And when a woman sees you treat everyone with dignity, not just her, it reassures her that your love isn't a performance, it's character. That's why women never forget the man who respects all, not just the woman he loves. Because in her eyes, that man isn't just a partner, he's a leader, a protector, and a man of true virtue. 10. He walks away with grace. What's the last memory you have of someone who left your life? Was it filled with anger, shouting, or bitterness? Or was it calm, respectful, and unforgettable? Because here's the truth. Women never forget the man who walks away with grace. In love, most men fail at the ending. They beg, they plead, they lose control. They slam doors, send desperate texts, or try to guilt her into staying. But what happens? Instead of being remembered as strong, they're remembered as weak, broken, and desperate. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That same wisdom applies when love ends. A Stoic man doesn't see heartbreak as the end of his life. He sees it as part of the privilege of living, an experience to grow from. Let me tell you a story. A woman once dated a man who couldn't let go. After every argument, he begged her to stay. When she finally left, he bombarded her with messages trying to win her back. Years later, when she thought of him, she only remembered the desperation, the lack of control. But then there was another man in her life. Things didn't work out with him either, but when the time came to part ways, he didn't fight, didn't beg, didn't curse her name. He simply said, "I wish you well," and left. No bitterness, no drama, just dignity. And here's the secret. She never forgot him, because his grace and goodbye showed strength far greater than clinging ever could. Now I want you to reflect. If someone were to leave you tomorrow, how would you want them to remember you? As a man who lost himself in desperation? Or as a man who stood tall, respected the past, and walked away without hatred? A woman may forget the man who tried too hard to hold on, but she will never forget the man who let go with peace, with dignity, with grace. Because that man leaves behind not bitterness, but respect. And that, my friend, is the mark of a truly unforgettable man. Closing. So let me ask you this again. What makes a man unforgettable? It's not money. It's not looks. It's not charm. It's living with strength, integrity, discipline, and compassion. The very principles Marcus Aurelius himself lived by. Women never forget a man who stands tall in his values, who listens deeply, who forgives wisely, who controls himself, and who walks through love and loss with dignity.